When my son decided he was going to come out here, that God led him here to start a ministry in Ashtabula County because he just had a burden for them, I was excited for him. He asked if we would be there to back him the whole time, and we said yes, and we did.
We decided to come out after we had already begun to do Bible studies with some people, with Pastor and Sister Deaton. And then they came to the point where they no longer felt they were able to do it. And I told Pastor Deaton that I really felt the burden to be here. And I'd always felt like God was calling us here. And so we asked him if he would allow us to continue that. And that's how we began.
Well, I had been in a Pentecostal church when I was 16. And so I liked that feeling. I liked just the atmosphere, knowing God was there. So I already had that, the knowledge of that. But then coming to Pastor Scott's church, I found that same feeling and that same atmosphere, and that drew me to the church.
Daniel and I started coming in, I believe it was spring of '04, and then Frank was working and he couldn't start exactly when we did, so he came like about a month or so after us.
My job had us working on Sundays. The pastor started doing Wednesdays so that I could come, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Well, my first experience was when I met the Pastor Scott's mom, and they invited me to church. I naturally grew up in altogether different religion, belief, but coming to the Pentecostal church, I must say that I don't think I could have gone to another church where they made me feel as welcome.
We started off in the fire hall in Orwell, and we actually had a really good crowd, but everything was a karaoke machine. We had a homemade altar and rugs on the floor for prayer.
Starting so little, and there's so much to do and so much work, we were all excited, and we're like, oh, this is so great, we actually have a church building. But I remember us thinking, we were all floored that Sister Laura could sing the way that she did, and watching her sing with a little karaoke machine too. Actually now we had microphones, and we had, we eventually had, drums and a keyboard. So we were kind of like, it was almost like real church.
Well, when you look at the building today, it's pretty old, and it was in need of a massive amount of repairs and paint and upkeep. I think it was built somewhere in the mid-1800s, and we didn't see any of that. We honestly were so excited to have our own building that we just saw the potential.
You don't see then, the full vision of what Pastor had, but it was great just to have a building.
It was a challenge. I worked a full-time job. She worked a full-time job. We were driving an hour one way, and it was a strain. There's no other way to say it. But by God's good graces and His mercy, He brought us through it, and we became stronger because of it.
Well, I remember when we were going to the church, he was so poor. Like, he put everything he had into that little church, just trying to make it a nice church. And I remember him talking about going home and eating hot dogs and
Ramen noodles.
And him and Laura, not having a lot of food in their house, but he never quit and he never gave up, and he just kept on going.
Both came from great, good careers, making really good income, and they came out here to do this because it was the will of God. And I remember Pastor taking every job that he could just to provide for his family. I remember them, digging through, I think, couches one time looking for change to be able to have money to buy food.
We went through a lot of hard times in our marriage, but we knew we couldn't quit. Pastor would tell us, no, you can't. You took those vows, and
Right.
And if it wasn't for him, I don't want to cry. If it wasn't for him saying that stuff to us, I don't know where we'd be today.